Prince. The name alone conjures images of purple rain, masterful guitar solos, and a creative genius who rewrote the rules of music, fashion, and culture. He was an icon, a provocateur, and one of the most fiercely private superstars the world has ever known. For decades, he built a universe of sound and style from his mystical Paisley Park studios, a universe where he was the sole architect and the undisputed ruler. But behind the velvet ropes of his genius existed a man with impossibly high standards. Prince wasn't just a musician. He was a custodian of authenticity, a warrior fighting against the commercial machine that he believed was draining the very soul out of music. And in his crusade for artistic purity, he ruffled more than a few feathers. For years, whispers and rumors have circulated. Snippets from rare interviews, stories from insiders, and public feuds have offered clues. But what if the full picture was more revealing than anyone imagined? What if the list of artists who earned his criticism wasn't just a random collection of rivals, but a carefully curated indictment of an entire industry? Let's be clear, Prince never sat down and dictated a formal hate list. He was far too complex for that. But if you piece together years of insider accounts, analyze his own words from interviews, and decode his public battles, a pattern emerges. This isn't just about gossip. It's about understanding the core principles that drove him. So, for the first time, we're counting down 6 artists and entities who, based on credible reports and public records, found themselves in Prince's creative crosshairs. And the reasons behind his most bitter rivalries reveal a truth about music, fame, and integrity that's more relevant today than ever. Get ready, because the list might not be who you think. Coming in at number 6 is a band that seems like an unlikely target for Prince's disapproval. Maroon 5. Their polished, radio-friendly pop rock feels worlds away from the raw funk of Paisley Park. Yet, one of their recordings reportedly drew Prince's ire, sparking a conflict over one of his most iconic songs. The song was Kiss. Released in 1986, it's a masterclass in minimalism. A skeletal funk groove, a tight guitar lick, and Prince's soaring falsetto. What makes Kiss a work of genius isn't just the notes he plays, but the spaces he leaves between them. The tension, the breath, it's all part of the composition. The song is sparse, yet impossibly cool. In 2011, Maroon 5 recorded a cover of Kiss, releasing it as a bonus track. Their version was different. It was polished to a glossy sheen, packed with slick production, and Adam Levine's vocals left. Little room for the subtle groove that defined the original. To many, it was just another pop band covering a classic. To Prince, it was reportedly an artistic misstep. According to unverified stories from the Paisley Park inner circle, Prince's reaction was one of quiet fury. He allegedly told those around him that Maroon 5 had committed the ultimate musical sin. They took all the spaces out, suffocating the song's delicate, funky heartbeat. In his view, they hadn't interpreted the song, they had steamrolled it. Prince himself gave a public comment that was widely seen as a direct shot at the band. In a 2013 interview with Billboard, he was asked about covers and rhetorically fired back. Why do we need to hear another cover of a song someone else did? He continued, art is about building a new foundation, not just laying something on top of what's already there. While he didn't mind live covers, he expressed deep annoyance with recorded versions that added nothing new. Around that same time, one popular anecdote claims he introduced Kiss at a club show by telling the audience, "Some songs don't need to be covered. Some songs need to be undressed, not dressed up." The message was clear. Maroon 5 had dressed his song up in a gaudy suit, and he was not impressed. While other tales of legal threats and angry phone calls remain unconfirmed, Prince is public. Statements speak for themselves. For him, Maroon 5 represented a fundamental misunderstanding of what made music great. It wasn't about polish. It was about soul, space, and the magic that happens when you let a song breathe. If Maroon 5's sin was, in Prince's view, misunderstanding his art, the sin of our number 5 entry, the Black Eyed Peas, was something far worse, representing a future of music he found deeply troubling. In the late 2000s, the Black Eyed Peas were an unstoppable force. With albums like the END, they crafted a sound engineered for the digital age, a relentless barrage of auto-tuned vocals, quantized beats, and anthemic hooks that took over the planet, and Prince reportedly hated it. For an artist who built his career on raw musicianship and valued human imperfection, the Peas' technologically driven pop was the antithesis of everything he stood for. He saw them not as a band of musicians, but as facilitators of a commercial product. One of the most telling, though unconfirmed, anecdotes comes from an industry event where will.i.am was DJing. Prince, who was in attendance, reportedly stayed for less than 10 minutes. As he walked out, a musician in his circle asked what he thought. His alleged response was devastatingly blunt. "That's not music. That's a marketing meeting." That single, quote, whether true or not, perfectly encapsulates his critique. He saw the era's rampant use of auto-tune and other production crutches as a sterilization of art. In a 2010 interview, without naming the group directly, he made his feelings plain, reportedly saying, "Music isn't supposed to be perfect. It's supposed to make you feel something." For Prince, feeling was everything. He believed music should come from the soul, flaws and all. The Black Eyed Peas sound, to him, was music that aimed for the charts, not the heart. His dislike seems less like a personal feud and more of a philosophical opposition. They were the poster children for a paradigm shift in music that he fundamentally rejected. He saw their rise as a symptom of an industry prioritizing algorithmic precision over authentic expression. In his world, built on funk, sweat, and soul, the sanitized, robotic perfection of the Black Eyed Peas wasn't the future. It was a dead end. Our fourth entry isn't a band, but a solo artist whose career put him on a direct collision course with the purple one, Justin Timberlake. This feud was different. It was personal, it was public, and it simmered for over a decade. The rivalry reportedly ignited in 2006. Timberlake, fresh off his boy band image, was riding high on the success of Future Sex Love Sounds. The lead single, Sexy Back, was a global smash, declaring that he was bringing sexy back to the pop charts. The problem? In Prince's world, sexy had never left. According to widespread reports, Prince took the stage at an Emmys after-party and announced to the AM crowd, "For whoever is claiming that they are bringing sexy back, sexy never left." The gauntlet was thrown. Timberlake didn't back down. The next year, on the track Give It To Me, he fired back with lyrics widely interpreted as a direct response. "We missed you on the charts last week. Damn, that's right, you wasn't there. Now, if sexy never left, then why is everybody on my shot?" The battle was now in the open, but the perceived disrespect didn't stop there. At the 2007 Golden Globes, Prince won for Best Original Song but was running late. Justin Timberlake, presenting the award, accepted it on his behalf, but instead of a simple acceptance, he stooped down, mocking Prince's famously short stature. To Prince's fans, and likely to the man himself, it was a cheap shot that crossed a line. Years later, the tension exploded back into public view in 2018, 2 years after Prince's death. The Super Bowl was in Prince's hometown of Minneapolis, and Timberlake was the halftime performer. Rumors swirled that he planned to use a hologram of Prince. The backlash was immediate. Prince's friends, family, and fans knew he had called the idea of posthumous digital duets the most demonic thing imaginable in a 1998 interview. In the end, it was a massive projection, not a hologram, but the damage was done. Timberlake performed I Would Die For You alongside a giant video of Prince, bathing the city in purple light. While some saw it as a tribute, many fans and critics saw it as the ultimate act of disrespect. a cynical attempt by Timberlake to get the last word in their long-running feud, using Prince's own image against his expressed wishes in his own hometown. It's clear that Prince's standards were as high as his legendary falsetto. From pop rock covers to digital tributes, nothing escaped his critical eye. We've covered 3 major feuds so far, but the rivalries only get more intense. Which story has shocked you the most? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell because you won't want to miss what's coming next. At number 3, we find not just a rival, but an equal. A titan of 80s pop who was just as ambitious, provocative, and determined to control her own destiny. Madonna. The rivalry between Prince and Madonna is the stuff of pop culture legend. Fascinating dance of attraction, collaboration, and bitter competition. They were the king and queen of 1980s music, both masters of controversy signed to the same label, Warner Brothers. They even briefly dated in 1985. That combustible combination produced one official collaboration. Love Song from Madonna's 1989 album, Like a Prayer. But even that was finished long distance, a sign of the space they needed from each other. Beneath their professional respect, a deep-seated rivalry was brewing. Prince felt Warner Brothers favored Madonna. In a 2013 Billboard interview, he didn't mince words. It was always about Madonna. She was getting paid, but at the same time we were selling more records and selling out concerts on multiple nights. Whether factually accurate or not, it reveals his perception that he wasn't getting the respect or financial backing he deserved. Their public and private jabs became legendary. In a 1994 interview, Madonna famously called Prince a little troll and commented on his dainty demeanor during a date. Legendary stories, though hard to verify, claim Prince was just as sharp-tongued, allegedly dismissing her musicality in private and once changing the lyrics of Sexy MF to She's Not Sexy, while looking directly at her during a show. Yet, it was never simple hatred. There was a grudging respect. Years later, the feud seemed to thaw. Madonna attended one of his shows in 2011, and Prince gave her a shout-out from the stage, a moment seen as a burying of the hatchet. The rivalry with Madonna was born from their similarities. They were 2 of the most fiercely independent artists of their generation, and the pop landscape wasn't big enough for both to rule without friction. It was a battle for the throne, fought with lyrical disses, shady interviews, and competing record sales. The story of Prince in our number 2 entry, Sinead O'Connor, is perhaps the darkest on this list. It revolves around one song, Nothing Compares to You, a track that made O'Connor a global superstar, but also, according to her, led to a terrifying confrontation with its creator. Prince originally wrote and recorded the song in 1985 for his side project, The Family, where it went largely unnoticed. That all changed in 1990 when O'Connor released her cover. Her raw, unfiltered rendition, paired with an unforgettable music video, became a global anthem of heartbreak. She had taken one of Prince's creations and made it unequivocally her own, and, according to O'Connor, Prince could not stand it. In her 2021 memoir, Rememberings, and in multiple interviews, O'Connor detailed a deeply disturbing encounter she says took place at Prince's Hollywood mansion. She claimed that Prince summoned her to his home, where he chastised her for swearing in interviews and made it clear he expected her to be his protege, under his control. Then, O'Connor claimed, things took a violent turn. She wrote that he suggested a pillow fight, only for him to have slipped a hard object into his pillowcase to strike her with. Frightened, O'Connor wrote that she escaped the mansion on foot in the middle of the night, alleging that Prince then stalked her in his car, chasing her down the highway before she found refuge. It was a terrifying ordeal that she said left her traumatized. "You've got to be crazy to be a musician," she later told the New York Times. "But there's a difference between being crazy and being a violent abuser of women." O'Connor believed Prince's rage stemmed from possessiveness. She had achieved global fame with his song without his direct involvement. and she felt he couldn't handle it. Prince never publicly addressed O'Connor's allegations, and with both artists now gone, it remains her word against his silence. But the story she told for decades was chilling, transforming the beautiful melancholy of "Nothing Compares to You" into a testament to one of the most frightening relationships in modern music. We've counted down rock bands and pop stars, but the #1 spot, the entity Prince fought against with every fiber of his being, wasn't a person. It was the entire system. His greatest feud was with his record label, Warner Brothers, and the industry it represented, a system he called a form of modern-day slavery. This was a war for artistic freedom. From the start, Prince demanded creative control. He wrote, produced, and played nearly every instrument on his records. But in the traditional music industry, the label owned the master recordings, the DNA of the music, and dictated its release. For an artist as prolific as Prince, this was a creative prison. The tension finally boiled over in the early 1990s. In 1993, he changed his name to an unpronounceable symbol. This wasn't a stunt. It was a declaration of war. His argument was that Warner Brothers owned the Prince brand and, by extension, controlled his art. By abandoning the name, he was trying to liberate himself from his contract. Then, he escalated his protest. He began appearing in public with the word "slave" written on his cheek. The message was stark. He was comparing his record contract to slavery, a deeply controversial and powerful statement. He explained his position in a 1996 Rolling Stone interview, saying, "If you don't own your masters, your master owns you." He saw the industry as a system that exploited artists, particularly black artists. "People think I'm a crazy fool for writing slave on my face," he said, "but if I can't do what I want to do, what am I?" He was fighting for a principle that's now at the forefront of the music industry. Artists should own their work. He fulfilled his contract by delivering a rapid succession of albums, defiantly titling his first post-label triple album, Emancipation. For years, he operated as an independent artist, pioneering new distribution models. His war was long, but in the end, he claimed victory. In 2014, he struck a landmark deal with Warner Brothers that would return ownership of his classic master, recordings to him. It was a win, not just for him, but for all artists who followed. Prince's battle with the industry wasn't just a feud, it was his life's mission. So there you have it. From pop rock bands and fellow icons to the very structure of the music industry itself. The story of the artist Prince feuded with is not a simple tale of celebrity rivalries. It's the story of a man who held himself and the world to an impossibly high standard. His dislikes were never just about personality clashes. They were about a core philosophy. Music must be authentic, it must be human, and the artist must have control over their art. He despised the manufactured, the formulaic, and the corporate. He fought against anyone and anything he believed was compromising the soul of music for commerce. Whether it was the crowded production of a Kiss cover, the demonic idea of a digital ghost, or the contractual chains of a record label, Prince's battles were all part of his crusade for artistic purity. He may have been seen as difficult or eccentric, but his convictions never wavered. He spent his life defending the integrity of his work and, by extension, the integrity of all art. His legacy isn't just in the timeless music he left behind, but in the powerful example he set. He taught a generation of artists that their voice is their own, and that they must be willing to fight for their freedom. In the end, Prince's greatest rival was conformity itself, and it was a battle he fought and won on his own uncompromising terms. Thank you for joining us on this journey into the complex world of a true musical genius. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, and make sure to subscribe and ring that bell for more deep dives into the stories behind the music. Until next time.